This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
It's important that airports have a seat at the table to discuss how that affects the local community and be kind of a representative of the local community.
Starting the conversation about the future of air traffic control in the U.S., President Trump is calling for the industry to be privatized. But how would it impact airports, including right here on the Suncoast? Tonight, we'll hear from a range of voices on whether the president's proposal will save money, cut down on delays, and is safe. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the impact of privatizing air traffic control coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin in Punta Gorda, where we're learning more tonight about why prosecutors believe Police Chief Tom Lewis should be held criminally liable for his role in the shooting death of 73-year-old woman at a police citizens training academy. Day 2 of Lewis's trial, he is facing charges of culpable negligence for the death of Mary Knowlton last August. Today, former Captain Jeffrey Woodard took the stand, testifying he was usually responsible for handling firearms and ammunition used in simulations, but on the day of the shooting, he didn't provide or check the gun of Officer Lee Cole that he used. Cole's gun, it turned out, was loaded with live ammunition and not blanks.
My understanding was that he was using his blanks gun. I didn't see how it was secured, but I saw it in his waistband.
Not only was Cole's gun not checked, it was against policy for him to secure it in his waistband. The testimony appears to strengthen the prosecution's case. Knowlton died because Chief Lewis allowed officers to ignore policies. A jury in Manatee County has found Richard Williams guilty in the death of his girlfriend's 17-month-old boy. Williams will be sentenced for second-degree murder. Williams' girlfriend, Courtney Pollard, left her son in his care in 2015. An autopsy shows Quincy Pollard died of blunt force trauma to his head. During the trial, Williams testified he never hit the boy. Jurors did not buy the story, and he could now face life in prison. Now the Longboat Key, where police are looking for possible victims after an employee of a Lowe's subcontractor admitted to stealing jewelry from several homes. The investigation began in August when a resident reported a $30,000 ring missing. Police are not naming the suspect, but says he is not a local resident. He worked for the Orlando-based company Precise Blinds. Lowe's stores work with the company to measure and install window blinds. Police say there could be many victims who are not aware that they have been robbed.
He bragged about stealing jewelry on Siesta Key, Bird Key, and Longboat Key, but we believe there may be victims in other areas of both counties.
Lowe's released a statement saying it's working with law enforcement, and anyone who recently had blinds installed is asked to double-check their valuables and contact law enforcement if anything is missing. Sarasota's police department is celebrating today after regaining state accreditation. Chief Bernadette DePino says when she took over the department 3 years ago, it wasn't able to meet all the state's nearly 250 standards. Since then, the department hired a full-time accreditation officer to help meet the requirements. SPD's compliance officer says only about half of the state's law enforcement agencies are accredited. There could soon be new hotels and businesses going up near Venice Municipal Airport. The City Council is considering proposals to develop nearly 12 acres of land, which would be used that used to belong to the circus. A discussion on the proposal will be held tomorrow morning. The director of the airport says building up the area could be a financial benefit.
I mean, potentially a lot of revenue to the airport. It's a non-aviation parcel, fronts on 41, and it's a nice piece of property that obviously we'd like to see developed as opposed to sit fallow.
We'll have a preview of how the developments could transform the area coming up tonight at 11. And it's a good time of year for travelers as gas prices hit their lowest level in 12 years. Prices have declined over the past 22 days. Some drivers in Florida are even paying less than $2 a gallon. Right now, the average price for a gallon of gas on the Suncoast is $2.17. The lowest prices are in Tampa and the Clearwater area. And Sarasota's skiers are getting ready to hit the road for a second year in a row. The team is claiming victory at the Southern Regional Ski Tournament in Tampa. Now they're heading to the Nationals. The championship will take place in Rockford, Illinois in August. The skiers are thanking the Suncoast for continuous support over the years, and good luck to them in August, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. A great thing to watch too out there. I was actually a part of them once, the end line on that big pyramid years ago. So, yeah, it was a memorable time. I won't be performing with them, though. They wouldn't win, I don't think. Anyway, we're looking at great weather for folks to enjoy the waters nearby. Currently, we have generally fair skies near the beaches, but a few clouds looking off to the east. This is from, again, 87 degrees at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport. The heat index has come down a little bit, 93. Winds are out of the west-northwest at 9, and the pressure 29.97 inches. Well, showers and storms have been progressing toward the east. That's a result of some southwesterly wind component, which will be changing a little bit tomorrow. We'll start to get more to east to southeast winds, which will butt up against the sea breeze and then carry the storms back toward the coast later on in the afternoon and evening. Now, there'll be a slight chance for a few late morning, early afternoon showers once the sea breeze develops, but our rain chances will really increase after 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and evening. You can see that activity pretty intense now over northwestern portions of DeSoto County near Arcadia, stretching off along State Road 70 all the way to Mayaca City tonight, and then heavier weather earlier today into central Florida, really cooling things down in Orlando. Temperatures there have cooled down into the mid-70s. Well, storms closer to the coast tomorrow. Mainly afternoon and evening storms expected. Tropics are quiet for now. 5 days from now, there's a chance we could see something develop. And the tropics still very active in the Pacific as Dora is winding down. Top winds are at 65, and it's moving to the west-northwest at 13. There is a system off the coast of Africa that we're going to watch over the upcoming 5 days. It has a chance of development at 20% only. So the next named storm is going to be Don. We'll wait and see.
Very nice. But Dora the Explorer seems lost.
Right there by Mexico. That's right. It needs a map. I'm a map.
Okay.
Back to you.
Still to come, it's one of the most stressful jobs in the country. Air traffic controllers are government employees, but the Trump administration is looking to privatize the industry. Find out how it could impact us on the Suncoast when we return.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Thank you!
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
Crowded, delayed, canceled flights, the cost of a ticket. Did I mention the TSA? Flying is not what it used to be. On the other hand, despite ancient and out-of-date technology, air traffic controllers are incredibly successful at keeping track of airliners in incredibly crowded skies. But now, as Kate Flexner tells us, President Trump wants to fundamentally change the air traffic control system. Kate.
Thanks, Alan. Right now, air traffic control is run by the federal government, but the Trump administration is looking to privatize it. It's a move the president says will revolutionize air travel.
Eric Abel feels most comfortable in the cockpit. He's been flying commercial and private planes for 35 years and has seen technology change over decades.
The weather depiction reports were on 1940s fax machines.
But one thing has stayed very much the same: air traffic control. They're the command centers of airports overseeing 70,000 takeoffs and landings a day nationwide.
The service I've been getting for the last 30 years has been outstanding.
And yet a recent report shows the Federal Aviation Administration staffing dropped to its lowest level in 28 years, leading to mandatory overtime and leaving staff stretched. Plus, controllers direct flights with 1960s-era radar and flight numbers listed on strips of paper, a system other countries have long since abandoned. That's why President Trump is pushing for the privatization of the country's air traffic control system. It's a move he calls an air travel revolution.
If we adopt these changes, Americans can look forward to cheaper, faster, and safer travel, a future where 20% of a ticket price doesn't go to the government, and where you don't have to sit on a tarmac or circle for hours and hours over an airport.
This would allow the FAA to handle safety, while general aviation, passengers, and airlines would pay for a nonprofit company to handle air traffic control. Proponents say it would allow a shift to satellite-based GPS navigation, making air travel more efficient and profitable for airlines. It's a move many countries have already made.
We have a technology in your car where you can track where you are quicker than you can in an aircraft.
So why is a country so often on the cutting edge of innovation stuck in the dark ages when it comes to air travel? President and CEO of the Sarasota-Manatee Airport Authority, Rick Piccolo, says that has a lot to do with the speed at which the federal government moves.
By the time they acquire any new technology and get it installed, it's woefully outdated.
Beyond much-needed technology updates, though, Piccolo says it's still not clear how this will play out.
The devil's in the details of how they want to implement this and what kind of corporation they want to set up and who's going to control it.
But for those in the general aviation population like Abel, the concern is adding costly user fees.
Flying already is expensive, and this is just going to be an added impediment.
Abel's thought: don't fix what isn't broken.
Generally speaking, air traffic control is very fluid in this country.
This is still in its early stages, so it's not clear if the plan will be successful.
Kate, thank you. Coming up, an incredible panel. The head of Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, a retired air traffic controller, and a pilot, all on final approach to the trapezoid.
This Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Minute is brought to you by Sarasota Ford.
The Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix was first organized in 1985. What began as an annual beach picnic for local children with special needs has expanded into an 11-day festival with the races televised to more than 100 countries. The entire festival is produced by Suncoast Charities for Children. The Grand Prix not only generates revenue for charity, but also a significant economic impact. Last year's event generated an economic impact of $37 million.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood. Faulty hip implants are linked to swelling, severe pain, difficulty walking, and often require additional surgery to replace or revise the hip implant. It can also cause dangerously high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. If you or your loved one had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of hip implant failure or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood, called metallosis, you may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less, and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
Welcome back. It's old and inefficient, but it's not broken yet. President Trump wants to fix it. The president wants to privatize the air traffic control system, specifically separate air traffic controllers from the FAA and contract with private entities to run the skies. GPS satellites would replace antiquated radar and radio signals. Critics say it would saddle travelers with higher costs and less air traffic coverage in rural areas. And joining us for more on the future of air traffic control is Rick Piccolo, President and CEO of the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, Peter Weiss, a retired commercial airline pilot who flew for Continental Airlines, and joining us by Skype is Alan Clendenin, a member of the Democratic National Committee, and he was also an air traffic controller for 30 years and a leader in the union for the air traffic controllers. And Alan, let me start with you. When you hear new technology, GPS replacing old radar and radio signals, that sounds pretty good to the flying public. And I would imagine it would be good news to flight controllers.
Well, absolutely. And I think part of the fake news or misinformation that is being spread and what was included in the president's speech about the modernization of air traffic control is that speech would have been accurate if it was delivered back during George Bush Sr.'s or Ronald Reagan's term of office. But starting with Bill Clinton and then Administrator Jane Garvey, the FAA started on a tremendous modernization project. And it's reached high gear. It reached high gear over the last 8 years in the previous administration. It's called Next Gen. And they're investing billions of dollars into this program. Air traffic control technology has advanced significantly over the last 20 years. And in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see even larger rollouts of technology. So we're on the right path, and I think we set the gold standard for air traffic control for the rest of the world.
Rick, as you see this bill go through Congress in its initial stages, it seems to me that there are two different issues. There's the technology issue and then the efficiency and the cost of the system. Is that what the president seems to try to be getting at?
Well, I think when you look at the bill, the cost and efficiency is a main effort through the privatization. I think Alan's right that a lot of efforts have been made. At the same time, those efforts are woefully behind. The next-gen system was supposed to be completed in 2010 and it still isn't done.
Why?
Well, I think it's partially because of the way the federal government does their procurement process, the way they test things, and the way that they have to acquire the technology and bring it on board. It's a monumental task because it's the largest air traffic control system in the world. At the same time, there are a lot of inefficiencies that when you look at the congested airports in this country, New York, Chicago area, if they had better technology and more modern technology, I think that could not only stop a lot of the delays, but it gives you more capacity, which allows for more economic development, more service even from smaller airports like SRQ.
Peter, what are your thoughts from the pilot's perspective? Because after all, you're the guy in the cockpit who relies on these air traffic controllers to get you where you want to go safely and as efficiently as possible.
Well, the technology that we have today is light years ahead of what it was even 10 or 15 years ago. I've retired out of the airline industry 10 years ago, and what we have today, even in general aviation, is far advanced. The problem, as I see it, is who's going to pay for all this? And the technology is not all ground-based, it's also based in the aircraft. And general aviation, to retrofit a large number of general aviation aircrafts to bring the technology up to speed today, it's going to take some time.
Rick, that's the rub. There's a debate between whether the airlines are going to be paying for this or general aviation, and that's, you know, folks like yourselves who own small planes and other people who fly. Has that been worked out? Has that been addressed in this bill?
I don't think so. It has, the devil, as I said in the interview, the devil's in the details, and it's going to be worked out amongst the board that's set up of this privatized entity, and the problem becomes the fight right now is between the airlines and the general aviation community predominantly over how many seats are on the board, and then how do you set up that system of what the user fee is going to be. It's going to be a user fee type system, and the question becomes, well, you make an argument that general aviation has far more flights than airlines, but airlines move a lot more people, so who should pay a greater share of it?
Okay, we are just getting started, and we'll pick up our discussion of air traffic controllers right after we check the weather.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251, 800-628-1251.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor and taking all your medications as prescribed can help protect your health. To make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you and get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-711-7200. That's 800-711-7200.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Our discussion of plans to privatize air traffic control continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Good flying weather right now near the coast anyway. Not many storms to dodge. And we have the Van Wezel webcam showing fair skies all across the area beaches from Anna Maria southward down to Minnesota Beach. You can see a few clouds off in the distance every once in a while trying to build up with the marine layer. Too stable to get anything going right now. The inland storms still moving basically toward the east coast of Florida tonight with a little bit of a southwesterly push because of a frontal system located to our north. Boy, big storms along Interstate 4 all the way up to Orlando and southward to Fort Pierce. They had some small hail with a couple of the storms there. You can see from Palmetto, Braden, and Lakewood Ranch all the way down to Inglewood, things are fairly quiet. Northport, you've had your fair share of showers and a few thunderstorms today, but most of the action now near Arcadia, that's winding down. As I alluded to earlier, there's a chance for 1 or 2 coastal showers later on tonight, but most of the activity will be gone by midnight. The heavier rain that had been around Northport has since moved on. The evening planner looks to be pretty good. If you have any plans this evening outdoors, the temperatures into the low 70s by 11 o'clock and a little bit warmer near the coast. Now, currently at the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, it's 87, the dew point 72, and the winds are out of the west-northwest at 9. The pressure 29.97 inches, relatively high, but has been falling slightly throughout the afternoon, more as a result of the heat. 90 degrees the high today. That was 1 degree above the average, and 97 the record set in 2014. And we're doing pretty well as far as rainfall goes. At the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport, we've had over 10 inches of rain this month. That's well above average so far. And we're going to get back on that rain trail, it looks like, especially throughout the weekend. Now, temperatures currently along the area beaches into the mid-80s there. 88 degrees at Waterleaf, Rosedale, the Meadows all at 88 degrees, and 87 at Gulfgate. Venice, you're checking in the same. 87 now in Rotunda, Northport, a couple degrees warmer at 89 degrees. Now, the RPM forecast model does show and depict a few isolated showers this evening, moving out to the Gulf, but not a lot of concentrated rainfall. Tomorrow, right around 1, 2 o'clock, that sea breeze starts to develop. Watch it moves inland and meets the east coast breeze, and then it all comes back toward us into the late evening. And then again, looks like similar conditions played out on Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. Rain chances are fairly close to seasonal averages, into the mid 50% range to 60% range, it looks like, right through early next week. Temperatures around the U.S. pretty cool across the Northeast and throughout the Great Lakes, into the 60s and 70s there. Columbus at 69 degrees, hot out west. Denver at 92, 90 at Salt Lake City, and 91 at Albuquerque. Phoenix 109, and a bit of a difference there in Dallas, some rain nearby, 83 in Atlanta, and 83 as well in New Orleans. Now the forecast for boaters looks to be pretty good for us. This frontal boundary will fall apart. High pressure will dominate and move on in. You can see quiet weather across the Great Lakes, a little frontal boundary bringing some showers to Tennessee, but cooler temperatures are in store. Looks like a pretty good boating weekend. We have the big power boats here in Sarasota. Should not be an issue. We're looking at a light chop basically both on Saturday and Sunday. Could be smooth conditions on Sunday. Seas running 2 feet or less, and the water temperature steamy now, 89 degrees. UV index will be high at 10, and the low tide at 11:26. Sunset will be at 8:29. Sunrise at 6:38 tonight. We'll keep that slight chance for a shower or storm in up to about midnight, and then tomorrow, better chances for showers and storms, and they'll get a little closer to the coast. That'll be a trend too over the next 7 days. Chance for showers and thunderstorms each and every day, all the way through July 4th. Alan will be back with the guests right after this. Stick around.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Call to see if you qualify to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan right now. At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book and DVD. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. Call 1-800-558-8779.
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 digital media services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 digital media services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing President Trump's plan to privatize air traffic controller jobs. Our guests tonight are Rick Piccolo of the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, Peter Weiss, a retired commercial airline pilot, and joining us by Skype is Alan Clendenin, a member of the Democratic National Committee from Anna Maria Island, who also happens to be a former air traffic controller and union officer. And Alan, let me ask you, I would imagine the concerns of union flight controllers would be is what is going to happen to our jobs and our collective bargaining agreements, and those people who don't like unions too much or might be thinking that this is a way to break up the unions and maybe have more control over salaries and so forth. So from the union perspective, what are flight controllers thinking?
Well, I will say that I have kind of both sides of the perspective, because I spent the first 2/3 of my career as a union air traffic controller, professional air traffic controller. I worked at St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport as a controller. I worked at Tampa International as a controller. And in the close of my career, I worked as a manager at Sarasota Bradenton Airport as air traffic manager for a year, and I worked at Tampa International as a frontline manager for a year, or for many years. So the perspective is, I will tell you one thing about the air traffic controllers that watch over the citizens that fly, is that this is the most professional group of people that you will ever encounter. And they have a deep personal sense of responsibility to the seriousness of the occupation and what they hold in their hands. So their primary concern is the safety and the efficiency of the air traffic control system. Way down on the list comes the self-interest that you discussed. I will say that at every table that I've ever sat at, the number one thing that all of the folks that work for the air traffic organization is safety, and it comes above everything else. And while I'm there, I want to counter a couple of things that I heard. One is that the air traffic control system is the transformation and this technology. There was a time, again, back in the early 80s, that they tried to do things turnkey and flip things on instantly. They realized that during the Clinton administration that was impractical, because it's like trying to change a flat tire while your car is rolling 70 miles an hour down the interstate. The system has to stay online and working 24/7, 365 days a year. So we're talking about incremental change. A lot of the changes about next gen, while it hasn't completely turned on, some of this process is being rolled out into the field. A lot of the misinformation we hear about flight strips, those are just memory joggers for the air traffic controllers, and quite honestly could have been done away with decades ago. But the air traffic controllers like them because they can look down and they can see things instantly, and it's a comfort to them.
So the question becomes, if we're going to update the technology and make the system more efficient, who is best to do it? Would it be the FAA, the government, or is it time to look to privatize it? And many people believe that industry is the best way to get a more efficient system. Rick?
Yeah, I honestly believe that when you look at the rest of the world, most of them are privatized. So I think from an efficiency standpoint, you certainly can improve it by privatizing it. But again, it goes back to the devil's in the details of how is it going to be managed. I agree with Alan that the safety is the #1 priority, and that air traffic controllers are tremendously professional. But the question becomes, how do you support? I think it's more an issue of support from the standpoint of equipment, acquisition, and the managerial support they need to do their job. When you look at what happened in Chicago a year or so ago when the fire was set by one deranged person and all that, it kept that city down for days and days, because the system is centralized to that area with the radars and the signals, and it's not a GPS system that you can switch it over to another location and still control it. When you look at some of the modernization issues that are going on in air traffic control today, you even can have virtual towers where an airport can be controlled from another airport. So those are the questions that I think privatization can answer easier because you don't have the governmental debates of it.
Peter, I have a question for you, but before I do, Alan, I do want to ask you because, you know, there are about 15,000 air traffic controllers in the U.S., but the number of flights over the last 10 to 15 years has dropped dramatically, I believe, by 25%?
If you look at the FAA reports, about 25%.
So are air traffic controllers concerned about the number of jobs that will be out there in this transition?
No, and I honestly, there's always going to be a need for someone to be in that air traffic controller, you know, seat, looking through the system and really managing the operation as technology comes on board. I will tell you, as far as the density of air traffic, there's no other air traffic control system in the world that even comes close to the United States air traffic control system. We have less air traffic controllers as compared to Europe, while we work substantially more air traffic. The cost per operation in this country is so much lower. Nobody does it better and nobody does it cheaper than the United States of America. It is not broken, and I agree with your guest about general aviation. You know, and Europe is another example where we have all these privatized systems. One, they're plagued by equipment outages. They're plagued by facility failures. And general aviation makes up in this country somewhere between 22–24% of the traffic. In Europe, it's like single digits. It's 3–4% of the traffic. We work all of the military air traffic for the most part in the United States of America. So there's a lot more happening in the skies of the corporate jets than just the air carriers. And I will say about the privatization, the proposal of privatization, does the American public really want the same group of people that run the airlines, where they beat you and drag you off airplanes, to be the ones that are in charge of air traffic control safety? And how do you think that's going to end?
Peter, you're laughing there, but that's a good point.
Yeah, well, it is a good point. And the fact of the matter is, we can't model a system after, say, Canada, that's been privatized, running very well. But it's a minuscule system compared to our system. And to have legislation that is going to change this overnight is like trying to eat an apple in one bite.
Well, let me ask you this, and I don't know how long privatization has taken place in Europe and other countries, but when you were flying, did you notice a difference?
No, because the airlines have been automated and technology has seeped into the airline industry way before it seeped into the general aviation side of the business.
Rick, you were telling me before the show that the problem with this entire discussion is when we're talking about innovation, that in general innovation dies when it gets to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And so how are we going to think of something creative when you have such a bureaucracy and such special interests that are controlling the process?
Well, I think that's the problem with trying to figure out the proposal. I do believe that by privatizing, the innovation and the technology could move quicker. The question is, who's going to control that organization? And I agree with Alan to a certain extent that if it goes right to the airlines, which are fighting to get that control by having the most seats on the board, that is probably not a good thing. And that control has to be evenly distributed more. But that's where the proposal is right now.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, citrus greening disease.
Because my parents told me I have to be responsible.
Because my first coach told me, you can do this.
Because my boss showed me how to do a good job.
Because my teacher helped me see the choices.
I'm swimming faster than I ever dreamed.
I am a valuable employee.
I discovered that I could work as an artist.
I will be whatever I want to be.
Youth with disabilities should grow up expecting to work and succeed. For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Thanks to all of you who participated in ABC7's contest with a chance to win 4 Florida resident Disney Platinum Passes plus a 4-night stay at a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel.
So now it is time for our grand prize winner announcement.
Congratulations, Larry Phillips of Sarasota. Larry, his wife Carol, and their kids Bradley and Anna won a year of magic at Walt Disney World, where dreams come true. Congratulations from ABC7.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Welcome back. Could privatizing air traffic controllers speed up travel and lower costs? Should these critical jobs be staffed by the government? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Alan, let me start with you from a flight controller's perspective and the manager's perspective. What do you want people to understand about where flight controllers are coming from when we talk about privatizing this industry?
Well, I want you to know that the United States air traffic control system is the safest and most efficient in the world. While there's privatized systems all over the world, nobody does it safer, more efficient, and cheaper than the United States of America in cost per operations. Also, that air traffic control and air traffic controllers in our system doesn't create delays. What creates delays in the United States of America is the weather and our airport capacity, which is runways. Significant portion of that is runway use, which is noise abatement, which is a real big issue down in Sarasota. You're restricted from using a lot of the runways because of being good neighbors to people that live around that airport. You want to reduce delays in the system, build more runways, and learn how to control the weather.
You know, Peter, I've heard about this all the time, that we need more runways and our airport terminals need to be modernized, and that there's a lot of talk about that, but not a lot of action.
No action, and that's absolutely correct. We do need more runways, wider, more airspace, availability. And I agree with Alan. We have the safest air traffic control system in the world. I've flown worldwide. And no, you don't notice it per se, but it's always good to get back into U.S. airspace.
So Rick, aside from modernizing the technology, then why do we need to privatize this system?
I think this is a great segue, because the one thing that's not addressed in this bill that's being proposed is airports have been asking for 17 years to have the passenger facility charge increased by $2 so that we could build more capacity. So no matter how efficient the system gets in the air, you still have to land it on a runway. And they are not addressing that in this bill again, and that's because the airlines don't want to see a $2 increase in the ticket prices. They say it will depress tickets, but they'll charge you $25 for a bag or $200 to change your ticket. So I think it's pretty hypocritical, but at the end of the day, that's the politics of this situation, and that's why I have a little bit of fear of how this board is set up, because the airlines will control a lot of the debate.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, citrus screening. The disease continues to take a devastating toll on groves and farms across Florida. To give you an idea of the impact, in 2000, there were 106 packing houses in the state, but today that number is just 26. Growers complain federal funds only go to researchers and not the people who depend on citrus for their livelihood. We asked you what you think should be done to help save citrus, and Kevin Kumango writes, declare a state of emergency and triple the research budget. Eric Fernandez writes, they should have been more aggressive with research 10 to 15 years ago. And Lena Drudge writes, whatever needs to be done, revenue people. Well, what do you think about air traffic controllers? Should the industry be privatized? Join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past roundtable discussions. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to all our guests for being here tonight. Rick Piccolo is the president of and the CEO of the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport. Peter Weiss is a retired commercial airline pilot who flew for Continental Airlines, which was purchased by United. And Alan Clendenin is a member of the Democratic National Committee. He was an air traffic controller for 3 decades and a union leader. When we return, online retailer Amazon.com isn't just online anymore. The company continues to diversify, and it's causing its stock to boom. We'll have the analysis of the growth with our business commentator. Plus, the former head of a massive health care corporation is in Washington, D.C. to give advice to the vice president and top senators. Yes, we are talking about our governor. We'll have the details in our primetime headlines.
Dead boat batteries sinking your spirits? Right now, you can save $10 on Duracell Ultramarine batteries at Batteries Plus Bulbs.
We should have named it the SS Going Nowhere.
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor and taking all your medications as prescribed can help protect your health. To make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you and get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-711-7200. That's 800-711-7200.
I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU. He went through seizures.
We'd much rather have Aaron like this than dead. A lot of parents don't have that luxury.
He can't talk. He can't walk. This is a condition Aaron will live with for the rest of his life because he abused prescription pills.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News.
An easy way to be a little less stressed at work, coming up in the next Health Smart.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Amazon.com, the online retailer, was founded by Jeff Bezos in 1994. Today it has become a juggernaut of commerce with more than 400 million products available. In fact, 43% of all online commerce goes through Amazon. If you're invested in the company, you're probably patting yourself on the back. The value of the shares in the company has gone up more than 40% over the last year. The stock is now valued at nearly $1,000 per share. And joining us for more on the continuing growth of this behemoth company is ABC business commentator Richard Stern. I'm sure you were pushing Amazon years ago. And
absolutely.
All your customers and clients are now multimillionaires.
Well, I wish that were true, but I think they've done reasonably well. Full disclosure, I own some Amazon. My wife does as well, but just full disclosure.
And I don't. But obviously, Richard, this is the company that ate America, if not the world.
There's no question, and they're going to continue to go about it. Certainly the news about Whole Foods in the last couple of weeks has turned the entire grocery industry upside down.
Explain that for a moment.
Well, Kroger, for example, which is the largest retail grocer in this country, is down 24% in the last month. Some of it has to do with their own earnings and their own sales dropping, but certainly people are saying this better mousetrap, this 800-pound gorilla called Amazon, is going to figure out a way to deliver your groceries in a year or two from now. You're going to think that's perfectly normal, and people are not going to go to the grocery store as often as they did before.
I remember Amazon wished or went on the road of trying to make its deliveries by drone, and I can imagine that the groceries will be dropped right at your front door, literally. This is pushing a lot of companies, as you said, Kroger's and others, to really, if not out of business, close to it.
Right. Look at Sports Authority as an example. They're certainly entirely out of business, and there's a real impact downstream, if you will, because you look at companies like Nike, Under Armour, where Sports Authority was a significant distribution point for them. Now it's simply gone. If you know that you want to wear Model X from Nike in a size 9, you can just buy it online from Amazon. 2 days later, you'll have it.
Right. Whole Foods, that transaction really made the headlines over the last week or so. But you say that they bought another company which may have another kind of huge impact.
Well, they've invented, if you will, something called Prime Wardrobe, which means you're going to be able to go online, buy whatever kind of clothing item or items that you want. They will send it to you. Amazon will send it to you in a resealable box, and they won't even charge you for it. If you decide, you have 7 days. If you decide to keep it, they'll charge you for it. If you want to return it, they don't even have to give you a refund because you never bought it to begin with. If you buy certain quantities of things, they'll actually give you a 10 or even a 20% discount on what you're buying.
And this is all having really an incredible impact on the retail industry. We were just talking about what's happening with malls and the big box stores out there.
Sure.
Are there any breaks in the near future on this?
Well, I'm sure there are some people that truly have a niche. If you go to University Town Center, and whether the mall is busy or the stores are busy, they're going to be crazy at the Apple store. I mean, it's just the nature of that kind of thing. But in general, if I were in the business of investing in shopping malls, I think right now I might look to other possibilities to diversify my real estate portfolio, just like you diversify an investment portfolio.
And of course, with everything that they buy and everything that they move forward, of course, we're going to be reading about it on the front pages of the Wall Street Journal, which, by the way, folks, is owned by Jeff Bezos. So, Richard, thank you very much for joining us. Richard Stern is the business commentator for ABC7 News. He joins us every other week for a look at the market. Your primetime headlines are coming up right after the break.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 78.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Ray Collins. The National Weather Service is hosting a storm spotter training class in Northport. We'll tell you how you can take part as hurricane season heats up. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
We're watching showers and thunderstorms change the pattern and give a better chance of rain to the coast. We'll talk about that.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Now for your primetime headlines, and we begin with the latest on a late-night warning from the White House to Syria and the Assad regime about the potential use of chemical weapons. The Trump administration is threatening Syria's president with serious consequences if he carries out another attack on his own people. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
The White House is accusing the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad of planning another chemical weapons attack on his own people and warn Assad better be prepared to pay a heavy price.
Our goal every day is to do what we can to protect life.
According to the Pentagon, there appear to be preparations underway for a chemical weapons attack similar to the one the U.S. says Syria carried out on April 4th. That one killed at least 70 people, including many children. Now the Pentagon says the Air Force base used in that attack is once again active.
The activity we have seen at Shayrat in the last couple of days is associated with chemical weapons handling at a known spot on that base, a known aircraft shelter that's used for chemical weapons.
Russia still has a presence at the base and is a strong ally of Assad. Hours after the initial warning from the White House, Assad visited a Russian airbase, even sitting in a Russian fighter jet. Russia says the American threats to Syria are unacceptable, and the Syrians, along with their other close ally Iran, say U.S. accusations they're planning a chemical weapons attack are false.
We are putting you on notice.
America's ambassador to the UN is not buying it and takes the warning one step further.
The goal is at this point not just to send Assad a message, but to send Russia and Iran a message.
The U.S. responded to that chemical weapons attack back in April by launching a missile strike against Assad, and experts warn that this time the target could be even bigger. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
After promising for weeks there would be a vote on the GOP's health care bill, Senate Republicans now say a vote won't come until after the 4th of July recess. With Democrats united in opposition, the GOP can only afford to lose 2 votes. Today, 6 Republicans are on the record saying they won't support the bill. Some are threatening to take it even further by preventing it from even being debated on the Senate floor. Facing growing opposition, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is now delaying the vote.
We will not be on the bill this week, but we're still working toward getting at least 50 people in a comfortable place.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates 22 million more Americans will become uninsured over the next decade. Under the GOP plan, 15 million more uninsured next year alone. Governor Rick Scott is on Capitol Hill today discussing the Senate health care bill with Vice President Pence, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Scott was a health care executive before being elected governor and is suggesting Congress take small steps instead of passing a comprehensive bill. Scott, who may run for Senate next year, said on Fox News the bill is better than Obamacare. One candidate hoping to replace Scott as governor is announcing her opposition to the Senate's health care plan. Former Congresswoman and current Democratic gubernatorial candidate Gwen Graham is calling health care a right. Graham delivering thousands of petitions to Marco Rubio's Tallahassee office, asking him to oppose the legislation.
This bill is heartless. It's heartless to the people of this country. And we need to make sure that our representative in the Senate, Marco Rubio, understands that the people of Florida are going to hold him accountable, that he needs to vote against this bill.
Earlier today, Tallahassee Mayor and fellow Democratic gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum proposed a state constitutional amendment declaring affordable health care a right for all Floridians. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.